All right. This man, Andrew Carnegie, considered to be, at the time, he was the wealthiest man in the entire world. He spent first half of his life earning money, the second half of it as a philanthropist. And in the United States, if you've ever been to a public library, you largely have Andrew Carnegie to thank for that. There was a young writer in his late 20s, struggling, living in a studio apartment with his young wife. And as a freelance writer, he only made money when he sold an article. And so he thought, if I could just interview somebody really famous, I could sell that article and it would put us in a better place in life with more income if I sell that article. And so he talked to his publisher about helping him get an interview with Andrew Carnegie. And they worked months on that interview, and finally Andrew Carnegie accepted the interview with this young writer whose name was Napoleon Hill. And so Napoleon Hill went on a Friday and was interviewing Andrew Carnegie. At the end of that interview, Andrew Carnegie said to Napoleon Hill, this has been a good interview. It's about 90 minutes long, but if you really wanted to interview me, you would need to stay for the weekend. Mrs. Carnegie and I will be here this weekend. The guest cottage out back is available. You could stay in the cottage. We could take some walks together. You could have dinner with us tomorrow night, and then on Sunday afternoon, we could complete the interview. And of course, Napoleon Hill jumped at the chance to be able to do this. And the interview process of Andrew Carnegie proceeded through the weekend. It was now Sunday evening, and Napoleon Hill was about to leave, and Andrew Carnegie said, "Come to my office." And he sat, Andrew Carnegie, behind his desk, had Napoleon Hill sit in a chair in front of his desk. And I said, "Napoleon, I know you have spent the weekend thinking that you were interviewing me, but I've actually been interviewing you. For a long time, I've had a project that I believe could be a monumental, world-changing project. And I've been looking for a writer I believe might just be the person to do it. And I think you might be that person. I believe that every single person right now that is hugely successful, I don't mean ordinary success, I mean massively successful. Most of them, I know them all." He said, "I know them all. Most of them have zero idea why it is they, among other men or women, should be so highly successful. They don't really know how it happened. Many of them think they were just in the right place at the right time, or it was circumstances, or the market shifted, but I know that it's more than that. I know that it is a combination of things that produces a level of success of that magnitude. I myself have enjoyed that success, and I know some of the things that I believe produce that kind of success, but it needs to be studied. Somebody who would work with and study these people, study their habits, study their decision-making skills, study how they make decisions about what they will or will not create, how they treat people, what time they get up in the morning, and to begin to see the patterns that are lived by that produces huge success. Study it not just for a year or 5 years. I believe that person would need to be a student of this for 20 years. And then you would really see the inner patterns of what produces success like that. Then write a book about it and make it available to any person who wants to have that kind of success in their life. And he said, "So for this, I'm inviting you to take this project on. I've been looking for a while. I believe you may be the guy, so I'm going to make you an offer. That you study, I have a Rolodex, I will write letters of introduction, I will make sure that Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and he named Firestone, he named many, many, many names. You will have access to them. You can visit them again and again and again, and you will study how they do things in their life that produce success. Good to know them. Codify that. Take notes on it. Study it. And after 20 years, write a book on it." So I have a question for you. Are you willing to commit 20 years of your life to this study, for which I will not pay you one dime? But I promise you this, if you study success, you will not be able to keep yourself from having greater and greater success yourself. Would you be willing to devote 20 years of your life to the study of success, for which I will not pay you a dime other than opening the door to meet the people that are wildly successful. Now, what Andrew Carnegie was doing, and Napoleon Hill had no idea he was doing, here's Napoleon Hill, a picture of him, about 10 years after. Andrew Carnegie had a stopwatch in his hand under the desk. And he did not hit the go button until he issued the question, would you be willing? He told him, I will not pay you a dime. I promise you, though, if you study success, you will not be able to keep success from you. You will have wild success. Are you willing to do that? Make a commitment to 20 years of study. Put yourself in that chair. You've got a young wife. The only way you know to make money is to sell articles, and it's a hand-to-mouth life you've been living. And you're going to make a commitment to work for no income for 20 years. And the question is in your hands now. What Napoleon Hill doesn't know, of course, is that the stopwatch is going. He also doesn't know that Andrew Carnegie has already pre-decided that if Napoleon Hill takes more than 60 seconds to make his decision, even if he says yes at 61 or 2 seconds, the offer's off the table. Because one of the things Andrew Carnegie knew about successful people was when they saw a good opportunity, they said yes. And they didn't spend a long time thinking about it. Successful people make decisions quickly. Is it expansive? Is it contractive? And they make a decision and another decision. And Napoleon Hill sat there, contemplated for some seconds. And at 33 seconds into the 60, he said, yes, you have my full commitment. And Andrew Carnegie said, good. Then here's your first step. I'll be preparing the letters. You and I will be having more meetings, getting you going on this project. In the meantime, when you go home, I want you to go to the mirror. I want you to look yourself in the eyes in the mirror. And I want you to say, and say it out loud, Andrew Carnegie, I shall not only match your achievements in life, but I will meet you at the post and I will pass you at the grandstand. That's a horse racing term. The post is the beginning of the final stretch. Here's the wealthiest man in the whole world. And Napoleon Hill, all he knows is struggle financially. Vastly different worlds. And yet Napoleon Hill is supposed to look himself in the eye and say, no, Andrew Carnegie, not only am I going to match your achievements, being as successful as you, I'll meet that success at the post before the final stretch of my life. And I will pass your success at the goal line. Now, there's no thing in Napoleon Hill that believes that's possible. There's no evidence in the world that it's true. Andrew Carnegie didn't care about that. He said, go do this. And because Andrew Carnegie was forceful, he was also now a new mentor to Napoleon Hill, and he'd made this agreement, he did as he was told to do. And he went home and he started saying this, and he was told to do it 3 times a day. And he would write later that at first he just felt like a fraud, a phony. He didn't want anybody to hear him saying these words. But he would do it anyway. He did it anyway. And he said, the honest thing happened. Somewhere between the second and the third week, he was walking down the street, not thinking about any of this, and all of a sudden a thought crossed his mind, well, it could happen. Where did that come from? The subconscious knows no difference between something real, what we would call real, or something vividly imagined. And it goes to work immediately upon it. Well, it could happen. As it turned out, Andrew Carnegie helped individuals, about 1,000 individuals, become millionaires. Napoleon Hill, with his work in Think and Grow Rich, there are tens of thousands of millionaires who attribute their success to following the pattern that Napoleon Hill codified and wrote about. Now, most of those people didn't just have the pattern, they had mentors. They had people who helped them stay inside the pattern, in the lanes of that pattern. So for a moment, just take a look at the words. I shall not only match your achievements in life, but I'll meet you at the post and pass you at the grandstand. The words set up the possibility. The action grounds the possibility. You're going to have to take some steps you're not used to taking. Ordinary steps are going to produce a continued ordinary life.